I was very fortunate to be able to have AYN send me this Odin 3 Max for a review, and this is my first time having a handheld long in advance of the device being shipped. So I want to say thank you to AYN, but also to everyone that's watched, liked, commented, and subscribed to the channel, because without you guys I wouldn't be able to do this. So thank you for continuing to watch and support the channel. This is my own review with no oversight and nothing exchanged, so you'll get nothing but my honest opinion here. If you have been keeping tabs on the Odin 3, then you'll know there's some controversy over its choice of using a Snapdragon 8 Elite for its processor. On the one hand, you have an absolute powerhouse of performance that is incredibly well priced, especially if you took advantage of the early bird pricing during the Indiegogo campaign. I should note that the device is now on their website, which I'll leave in the video description if you wish to check it out. But on the other hand, the 8 Elite doesn't have the same kind of driver support that the 8 Gen 2 has. And it's a bit of an eye-opener really, as it starts to show us how much we've relied on drivers for fixes and performance increases in some of our games, particularly with Nintendo Switch emulation. And I think a good way to sum up the Odin 3 is like a slow-cooked dish. You know it has everything to be an absolutely incredible meal, but for it to be perfect, it's going to take time. To this extent, I can't fault the Odin 3 or AYN. They're giving people kind of what they want, the next flagship device with improvements and more power. So now it is time for the software to keep up. I'm not used to getting a device so early, so my initial prediction that the Odin 3 will be a bit better by the time it starts shipping, I think is still possible. And I've seen some people make swift decisions based on early impressions already, so personally my advice would be to get all the information you can before they start shipping. In this video I'll go over the device, some of the impressions I've had, and I think the most exciting aspect is seeing the kinds of games this device can emulate with Gamehub and your Steam library. I actually wanted to deep dive more into PlayStation 3 games, and I'll have a section just about that. But I'll say for now that this is absolutely a case of software needing to catch up, because the Odin 3 absolutely has what it takes to emulate PlayStation 3 games. Let's go over the build quality first, because it sort of does and doesn't feel like an AYN device at first glance. It reminded me more like a chunky Retroid Pocket 5 with the left stick up top. But it's very sturdy and got some heft to it. Not to say that it's heavy, as I think the weight is decent for its size, but you can just kind of feel it's packing a lot inside it in a tight shell. Every single button on the front is dead quiet. I think for a larger device, if you're the type to game in bed next to your partner and need quiet buttons, then this is the quietest I've ever heard. Even the system buttons are practically silent, even though you feel the soft click with each press. I'm also kind of sure that the buttons have like a slight haptic rumble to each touch. It's so slight that it's almost non-existent, but adds a weirdly satisfying feedback to each touch. But every time I think about it, I think I'm making it up. Now the L1 and R1 buttons are quite clicky, which is odd in comparison. However, since I already needed to open the device, I went ahead and slid some thin plastic pieces onto the dome switches, and this has now made L1 and R1 about as soft as everything else. The triggers are pretty good too, and feel a bit like smaller Portal triggers. They kind of remind me of the Retro Pocket 5s for some reason, but yeah, they're fairly comfortable and have good travel. We also got two paddle buttons on the back. That's fairly standard for all AYN devices. These are mappable and are really handy as system functions like fast forwards and menus, etc. Looking around the device, the volume buttons are obvious, but we have a welcome return of the fingerprint sensor that the original Odin 2 had. If you like your device locked and want to jump in quick with just a touch, then it's very snappy and reads very well. And along the bottom we have the USB-C for charging and display out, an audio jack for headphones, and the trusty SD card slot for extra storage. The D-pad is similar to previous D-pads we've seen. It's responsive with soft clicks in every direction, and I've enjoyed using it when I've had to. These sticks though, I wasn't sure if I liked them at first, but after some use, it does feel weird to go back to other devices. For some time now, since the original Odin 2 up to the AYN Thor and a bunch of Retroid devices, we've had the same kind of sticks, and they've been really good and serviceable for pretty much most games we play. These sticks, however, are definitely bigger with more travel, and it makes the device feel more premium for sure. These are not interchangeable with other devices, so if you thought about possibly buying some of these separate, if given the chance, and then popping them in your portal or something else, then it's not going to work. The frame is bigger and doesn't align with the screws and ribbon cable properly. My only complaint is an accidental one, as when I was wiping the device, I accidentally popped one of the caps off and somehow the dust guard inside peeled out. And with other devices, if this ever happened, it was possible to kind of jimmy it back in from the front and wiggle the stick to place it back in. You cannot do this with this device. If it comes out, you're going to have to open it to place it back in, which is a pain. But I gotta say, the design inside is pretty damn great. Honestly, since the internal designs of the original Odin Pro and older Retroid devices, they've come a long way engineering these things, and it's remarkable. I was also given a white clear TPU grip to put the device in, and I better quickly say that I had some RIT dye more left and I decided to dye this shell black. I think it looks tons better than the white one, but you can actually buy a black TPU grip, so yeah, I think the black looks a lot nicer with the purple. I have an issue with this device currently, and I don't know if it'll be somewhat amended before orders roll out, most likely through an OTA, but when this device's fan goes off in sport mode or the minimum setting for custom, the fan produces a pitchy whine as well as the fan sounding quite loud already. Up until a certain point, smart mode is fine and never bothered me. And after more use, maybe this won't actually bother people, but when the Odin 3 is under heavy load, then the fan starts working hard, big time. My hope is AYN gives an option to set the minimum lower for sport and custom, just to undervolt whatever's going on, so at least we have the option to avoid the whine even if the device gets a bit hotter. Because I gotta say, even when this thing is cooking, I don't feel the heat in my palms or fingers. All that heat is pretty central and doesn't seem to become inconvenient. There's been some discussion that maybe reviewers have had inconsistency, but honestly this is not a very big fan and it's being pushed hard, so I do think a lot of people will experience this. And if your intention is to do very high-end emulation and you're sensitive to pitchy, whiny noises, it's going to be quite distracting. While we're talking about settings, let's go over the screen and the AYN settings. So we can choose fan options, and like many devices we can choose the performance profile from standard, performance and high performance. I've not experimented with these and I usually just choose high performance because I like to get the most out of a device. But if you choose standard or performance, you can actually choose the setting quiet in the fan settings, which isn't there in high performance. So we do have an option here to force the fan quite low. This is a 120Hz 1080p OLED display, and it's as gorgeous as they come. Everything looks great and you can set it to be very, very dim or incredibly bright. You can swap between 60Hz and 120Hz at your convenience, so if you're playing a game that won't take advantage of very high frame rates, you can just set it to 60Hz and save some battery. But 120Hz is lovely, even for using front ends or doing other things like browsing. And as usual, we can't capture 120Hz for YouTube, but when it is in effect, it looks as smooth as you'd like. I gotta say the speakers are they're really damn good on this thing too, and if I open the device again I would have loved to show the way they're implemented into the device because it's a really cool kind of modular piece that just slides in, and I just thought that was impressive. We'll listen more to the sound in some of the games in the showcases later, and with some of them I just can't help but gush about how good they sound. There's always a ton to talk about with these devices, and I don't consider myself someone who thinks too technically about it. I only think about things when they start to go wrong. I feel like this device has a kind of odd power draw to it, and I've seen some conflicting opinions already. One time I set a bunch of games to download on Gamehub by my router, and the device was basically at 100%. And like an hour later, I come back and it was at 50%. This didn't seem right to me, as I've downloaded games with the AYN 4 in the same way and not seen such a percentage dip in the battery. So whatever's going on here, I hope it's fixed by the time orders start shipping. Another issue I had is that I was testing some games and I wanted to have a look at an Android title, and my go-to is Fornite, because I don't do much Android gaming and I feel like it's a good popular one. And I was really happy to see performance-wise it could play at 120Hz at highest settings, which is so much better than the Nintendo Switch 2 experience. However, every game I tried to join, about 10 seconds after getting in the bus, the game would always kick me with this error message. And I know there's nothing wrong with most of what it said because I tested the game again on my Odin 2 portal and it ran perfectly. So there's something going on here that's to do with the device, and again I have reached out to AYN about these concerns and I hope they're able to fix them in the near future. Alright, let's move on to the good stuff, which is seeing what the Odin 3 can do and looking at some games. I ended up setting my device up just like my Portal and Thor, and I'm still using Pegasus as my front end, which is using this Skyline OS++ theme for a Nintendo Switch look that I've been digging for a while. Operating this device also just feels like really slick. It's hard to explain compared to other devices I've used, but it feels so much snappier and I really dig that. We've also got a mix of older retro titles with RetroArch and other standalone emulators. Now I do encourage looking at other reviews because people are familiar with devices and software in different ways, and the Snapdragon 8 Elite has apparently its share of problems with RetroArch cores and Dolphin in particular. Now I'm just going to say what I've done and played and the experience I've had with the Odin 3. For example, with RetroArch, I set my video driver to Vulkan every time because I know that I might want to use slang shaders or something. It's just something I do, so I would never have been aware that certain cores had problems with OpenGL as the driver. And my version of Dolphin I use is an older one, version 2412, and it's literally because I think I tried a newer one and it wouldn't read the save data, so I just went back to this one. And I've not experienced any problems with the GameCube games I've tested. I've pretty much had a non-surprising experience with setting up and trying anything up to and including PS2. So let's have a quick showcase of some games and move on to the bigger stuff. The hell, this game is awesome. Dude, it feels so good. The speakers, all of it feels so good. Oh, the bass is so good. Damn right it's gonna be Luke Skywalker. Oh wow. I forgot he could do that. Wait, I can control. How I conduct this game is insane.
That was fabulous.
Out of sight, baby.
I found the aliens. They've taken my hostages.
The audio, the speakers are so good, man. It's hard to convey in a video because you just feel that like bass quality and stuff. It's very, very good. When I knew I was going to get a review unit of the Odin 3, my first thought actually was to have a good look at PlayStation 3 emulation. I'd accumulated a selection of games either exclusive to PS3 or were only on consoles and not on PC. Because at this point, if a PS3 game is for example on PC, then it's highly likely to be a lot better with Winlater or Gamehub than it would be on the Android PS3 emulator. Now it's worth noting that, similar to Vita emulation, you can check online what games are compatible, and while the list looks more compatible compared to Vita, there does seem to be about a quarter of the library that has problems, and I'm not completely sure if that list is accurate for Android emulation, and spoilers, it isn't. With Android we have two emulators to look at, which are RCPSX UI Android and APS3E. Of the two of these, I think RCPSX UI is the more performant, but its biggest problem is you can only install games to the internal storage. And this is a big problem if you want to play a lot of Steam games on Gamehub, as this also uses internal storage as well. And even with the Max model, which has 512 gigabytes of storage, I found very quickly that I had very little space left. Now with APS3E, you actually can play ISO games straight off the SD card, which is great, but other formats have to be installed internally. And you can create a custom config per game, which with PS3 emulation I think is really important, because if you check out the games on the RPCS3 wiki, you'll find a lot of the games you'll be interested in have quite different recommendations for configs. We have pros and cons for both emulators, and I think both emulators need more time to cook, so I'm not intending to do a proper showcase just yet. I wanted to test this as if I was going to use this device properly, and there was no way I would be juggling internal storage between PS3 games that don't work and Steam games on Gamehub. A lot of the games I was hoping to see promising results with either didn't boot, crashed, or had crazy graphical issues. What I'll do is show you Dante's Inferno at 720p in RCPSX UI, and then I'll show Demon's Souls and Asura's Wrath in 1080p on APS3E straight off the SD card, with the start of Nier that seems to crash every single time at the same place. But yeah, I was really hoping to show some more exciting results here, but at least I can show the power of this device for these games.
Asura! Father!
Every time. For Nintendo Switch, I went into this knowing it was going to be a flawed experience. This is one of the main contentions of the Odin 3 because a lot of the Switch emulation we know that performs so well from 8 Gen 2 devices is living off the back of the incredible driver support the chip has had for years now. So if all goes to plan, then the 8 Elite has some catching up to do. But when it does, then this thing will be a beast for Switch emulation. This isn't to say that Odin 3 can't play some stuff already. It can perform, but some of these games will have problems that have no fixes until the driver support comes. If you're expecting to do a lot of Switch gaming with a device like this, then the answer right now is not yet. But when that day comes, this is going to have its second wind big time. I'm going to be using the latest Eden nightly here, and I've tweaked some of the settings to how I would on my other devices. I also added this Qualcomm driver that was being used in Gamehub for this processor to see if it had better results, but from what I could tell, either a game will work well or it won't. So, let's check out some of the games I tested.
Joker can go find Freeze himself. He ain't gonna live that long. You saw him. I say we stay out of sight, try and keep warm, and if anyone asks, we're looking for Freeze.
Why are the textures changing?
Ah, おかえり。うちの息子、エマ。全然。 何をか
Now for me, the most exciting part about the Odin 3 is just seeing how well it can perform with PC games. Nothing I'm showing here is being streamed to the device or as some kind of footage. They're all emulated on and using my actual Steam library. I should note that if you have non-Steam games like GOG or something else, you can actually put these on your SD card and run them from there, but I can't speak for the performance of games with massive file sizes. Like my Gamehub videos I've made for the AYN4, I'll be showing my Gamehub settings for each game and then the in-game graphical settings before showing off some of the gameplay. Let's kick things off with the game showed in the thumbnail, Devil May Cry 5. I actually meant to have settings in this set to low, but they must have defaulted somehow. But it didn't seem to matter. The gameplay is very smooth and looks so good. I think this was the first PC game I tried since I tested it on the Thor once and the performance was okay but not great. For me this is very close to just playing it natively, which is kind of shocking to be honest. I should mention in this video that while the games are running at 720, with super resolution we are upscaling to 1080 and adding some sharpness to the image, which makes it look more fitting for this device's screen. Oh my god, that audio is so good. Like, that was on its loudest setting and I could just feel it in my palms a little bit as well. I was pretty floored to check out Batman Arkham Knight and seeing it run as well as it's running. I somewhat expected maybe a capped 30 FPS experience that looked decent, but this game at times can keep up to 60 FPS and I was dead surprised to see the performance was not taking too much of a hit, just racing around in the car tearing the city up. It dips down to the 40s and below in the open world, but I didn't really think to myself that it was feeling bad to play. I actually thought to myself that yeah, I could see myself playing Arkham Knight emulated on the Odin 3, and just thinking that to myself was mind-blowing. It's extremely impressive, and to think things could only get better from here is very exciting.
By getting close without being detected, I can get the jump on them, and in the panic, take down all three before they know what's hit them.
Help me!
I need to use both antennas to identify the micro and radio wave frequencies across Gotham. If I can find both frequencies at the same location, I'll know where Scarecrow is manufacturing his toxin. The radio and microwave frequencies point to Ace Chemicals. That's where Scarecrow's producing the toxin.
No way.
Jim, I've traced the fear toxin to Ace Chemicals. That's where we'll find Scarecrow.
Impossible. I've had a team there ever since the evacuation started, just like you asked.
Crane must have bought them off. Or worse.
Mission activated.
I'll grind you into the ground. Hey, look! A dead
I want to do this. Whoops.
gonna rip you.
Just Cause 4 is another game I wasn't sure would even boot, and knowing it's open world with lots of action and explosions, I thought this would not run very well. But getting past the intro and playing around for a bit, again I thought to myself, I could see myself playing Just Cause 4 on the Odin 3, and yeah, I'm pretty mind blown by that too. This brought back a ton of memories, and I started thinking how great it would be to see a game like Just Cause 5 in the future. I don't know what happened with Avalanche Studios, but it's a shame they haven't seemed to release anything for a long time.
Solid copy on enemy contact. Deploying reinforcements.
I just want to mention that even with the volume really loud, the fans going, I can hear the whine a bit, which I don't particularly like. But once I'm just in the game, I am tuning it out a bit.
I'm empty them.
The floodgates have been sealed shut in Tel Aviv. They're storing up the water, holding back a lot of energy. We think they may be trying to slow us down by rushing.
Elevator's out of order.
Carajo. Black Hand must keep it locked from somewhere else to prevent unauthorized access. Here, try this console. Evil West is a game in my Steam library and I've never played it.
I actually intended to play it co-op with a friend, and it just never happened. So there it sat, never to be played. So I'm not sure what made me decide to check it out here, but I'm so glad I did. Like, wow, this game is really fun. It's like a callback to Xbox 360 action games where you're this demon hunting cowboy, but the gameplay really speaks for itself. After 10 minutes, I was like, yeah, I'm absolutely going to play this. It has very satisfying melee combat that mixes in Western guns, which somehow makes this kind of like a pseudo Gears of War plus Devil May Cry game. So if you've never heard of it, then check it out.
That gathering won't find itself, you know? Move it. You know the cat.
Smells of what? I thought you said smells of dicks.
This one was out of my own interest, as when I'm not doing these videos, then my main job is I write music for a living. And my most recent project I've been working on for the last year is GRIME 2, which I'm returning for after the first game. Over the weekend it just got a demo release and it's in my Steam library, so does it run on the Odin 3? And the answer is yes, it runs incredibly well. And I get a thrill from seeing it working too, along with those amazing speakers. It actually made me really happy with how the game was sounding. I think it's so cool now that we've got a potential new market now where someone with an Android device, they can buy a Steam game, see if it works with Gamehub, and if not, then no problem, you get a refund. And if it does work, you've essentially just got a game available to the entire Android market, and that's a huge market. Anyway, anything I can say about GRIME 2 is obviously biased, but I think it's turning out fantastic, and I'm so looking forward to people playing the full game when the time comes. In hindsight, I wish I tested Sekiro for this video, but I was really curious about Elden Ring. But it's a good example that not everything will run perfect in Gamehub. And one of the reasons this doesn't is that it's being forced to run in DX12. I also had to do something to delete the anti-cheat on here in order to get the game to boot, so it wasn't a simple install for me. Looking online, it seems there's a way to get DX11 running in Elden Ring. If this is true, then it's possible to get the game running with very good performance on the Odin 3. It seems to be the case that if a game is in DX11, then there's good odds it will run well on the Odin 3. If it's DX12, then it won't utilize DXVK, and the games either won't work or be harder to play. I tried Expedition 33, which is DX12, and it was very slow. As was the Resident Evil 4 remake. But let's look at the footage I have and see how it is in DX12.
Oh yeah, there's full damage in this game. There's full damage in this game! Easy now. The frame rate is not good for that.
Lastly, we have Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and this too is another game I was really surprised at how well it was performing. After the intro and this slow walking section, the performance is mixed between 30 to 60 FPS depending what's going on. I started to feel like I was performing some kind of tech demo for a show because it was so immersive, and I'm showing this emulated on the Odin 3. But then after, with a bunch of the tomb stuff and then the combat, I found it to be very playable. It had dips down to 40 FPS, but it didn't really bother me that much. This is the last game I'll be showing for PC emulation, so I hope you enjoyed the games I chose and that it's given you some insight into what to expect when your Odin 3 arrives.
Where did Dominguez go?
He can't be far. He must be in the courtyard somewhere.
Yeah,
Let's look around.
someone must know something.
Hey, Sammy, how's it going?
Gracias, Jonah. All this food is making my stomach rumble.
Guess you should have eaten.
I'd like one for my mother. I'm not really used to crowds.
You'd rather storm guards or the deathless?
No, this is fine.
Someone set off a trap at the first sight. We think it was Croft.
Wait,
What's wrong?
I want confirmation. No more guessing.
I'll make sure we get visual confirmation.
Would you get it over with already? They want us back ASAP.
Any final words? Wait. I'm a government official. I'm supposed to be here. Not anymore, Mr. Lead Archaeologist. Your employment has been terminated. Please, no. I have money.
Jonah, I made it. I'm in an underground temple.
What the fuck do you think I'm doing? Checking on the water pump right now. Okay. Let's make sure everything's copacetic.
None of the local workers leave the site alive. Ah, fuck. We've planned for this. Make sure the perimeter's secure.
What do you think is in there?
Inspectors are coming. Be ready.
Fuck. Don't worry, I'll fix it.
This is taking way too long. If Dominguez has to wait for us when he gets here, it's not going to be pretty.
No witnesses.
Have to be quick.
Site secure. All right, let's dispose of the bodies. You, monitor the police van. Let us know when the gunshot.
Visual confirmed. It's Croft. Engage. Dominguez wants her alive. She's killing our people. Fuck. Copy that. Target sighted. Epsilon team.
Always hated helicopters.
We have an intruder. No chance. Gonna have to come out. Open fire. Give up. Need a better position.
have to say that my experience with the Odin 3 is one that has grown over the several days I have had testing it. The only main thing I've not really covered about the device is streaming. However, I don't have the best setup for streaming, even though I do use my portal for that. But I hope another reviewer will cover that more in depth, as the 8 Elite is supposed to be excellent for streaming. In the beginning, I started off believing that 8 Elite is potentially a hard sell at this moment in time, and wondering what exactly is the reason I'd want it. And now I'm smitten with the little upgrades AYN have managed to put into an Odin that I didn't know I needed. The buttons are quiet and responsive. The sticks are full motion with a nice resistance that I enjoy more than the full joysticks on an AYN device. The speakers are some of the best I've ever heard on anything portable, and they're the new standard in premium devices. It is my hope that some of my concerns are manageable and improvable via a software update, in which case I'd give a very good recommendation to the Odin 3. But once we start getting decent drivers for the 8 Elite that deliver the performance and graphical fixes we're so used to from the HN2 devices, then this once again will be the device to beat, and AYN will continue to keep knocking amazing handhelds out of the park. If anything, this gives me a lot of excitement for a Portal 2 if they ever consider one. If they put these Odin 3 upgrades into one of those, I'd buy one in a heartbeat. If you enjoyed that review, I'd very much appreciate a like, and please subscribe to the channel to see what I cover next. Thank you for watching. Cheers.